Okay, well, it's been a bit, but welcome back to another episode of Battleborn Duckers. Tonight we have the one and only...
The black cloud of all black clouds.
The shitstorm himself, Jared Bushman. No, me and Jared, we go way back. We go back before Brian, in fact.
That's true.
Go way back. Before Brian, I moved out to the valley, and I was just a lonely redneck all by myself in Moapa Valley, and our wives became friends. We started hanging out, and then one night, I think it was after 4th of July.
Yeah, that sounds right.
We went on our first man date.
Yeah.
It was a good time. What we did.
They both wore Crocs. It was beautiful.
No, we went to Boulder Beach, and we walked along the edge and held hands. It was okay though. No, we went to Boulder Beach. No, not Boulder.
We went to Echo Bay.
And
it wasn't Boulder Beach.
Went fishing, and we sat out there. We went after 4th of July after the kids were done watching fireworks. And I'm sitting out there with Jared, and we had a good night fishing. It was like on and off all night.
Yeah.
Good conversation, and all of a sudden I go, "Hey, what's that? What's that over there? What's that light?" And Jared goes, "Well, Ron, that's the sun." And I said, "I gotta go home.
I'm in trouble."
So that's how it started with Jared. And on our way home, there's like bighorn sheep.
Yeah, that is the. I have seen bighorn sheep once in the gorge. Everybody tells me how much they see them, but what were there, 40 of them?
Yeah, we were driving home, and I was like, "Look at that deer on the hill," and you're like, "No," I was like, "I think that's fake." You're like, "No, that's a sheep." So
we had to get out of the vehicle, but we only saw one of them, and then we got out of the vehicle and started walking towards it, and suddenly you could see all of them on the hillside.
It was right by Poverty Flats as you come down in the valley, Brian.
Yeah, there's a pretty good population up there, especially on the lakeside.
Yeah.
Run back and forth through there. There's water and there's feet out there, so
there's water.
That's where they're going to be.
I moved out here in 1994, and I had never seen bighorn sheep out there.
Really?
Never. That was the first time.
You have a lot of good stories about being in the valley. Yeah, you're rubbing up against our duck blind here.
That's right.
We're recording from where all the magic happens, my garage, because Jared lives out here and Brian lives out here. So we set up this beautiful duck blind behind us.
Studio number 2.
Studio number 2. But we brought Jared on the show for a specific reason. Every time we go out with him, like, stuff happens.
Magic.
And it gets crazy.
It's the magic.
And Jared's one of the guys that has the best personality I know when it comes to having crazy stuff happen. And he is one of those guys that just can get punched in the face and he just rolls with it. He's like, "I'm having a good time getting punched in the face all day."
Usually if I get punched and I'm rolling, it's because I'm unconscious. But
yeah.
Well,
I'd rather be unconscious than conscious at that point.
There's no better person to talk about Embrace the Suck with than Jared, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's a good name of this episode, Embrace the Suck. Jared likes to give the suck a big old hug.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think it sucks as bad as everybody thinks usually.
Well, why don't you go ahead and we'll tell the first story. The first time me and Brian took Jared out duck hunting.
My first time duck hunting ever.
Yeah, go ahead and tell.
You want me to tell the story?
Yeah, you can tell the story, and we'll throw in commentary as we go.
All right, let's see. I had never gone hunting before, other than bunny bashing, right?
Yeah.
So other than going out and killing some cottontails and jackrabbits, I'd never shot at an animal before. So duck hunting, I'm pretty excited to go out, and we have Ron's duck boat, and everything's looking pretty good. Anyway, it was a long day, and we hadn't really hit any ducks. We're getting texts from John Hymas about their 3,000 ducks that they've already killed in 25 minutes or something like that. And
Damn Hymas.
He's already gone home, man.
Yeah, he's already on his way home. And
you blasted a few, though.
Yeah. I did. I hit one. I hit the first one, and then we actually had some coming in.
So Jared, one thing about Jared for sure is, if he pulls the trigger once, that gun's gonna be empty before he stops.
You don't even got a semi-automatic. He's got an automatic. They're all
Just hold the trigger, baby. Hold the trigger and see what falls.
We started out that morning though by throwing out the decoys in the cold.
Oh,
and
that's right.
I took a decoy and I took my phone and chucked that too, and so we spent the whole day without my phone. That's
we
how
looked,
we started.
We looked for the phone for a little bit.
I was over there for half the day digging in that water trying to find my phone. It is still out there if anybody wants a S9. No.
Yeah, it was a new phone.
It was a newer phone, but
so Ron lost his phone. What else do we have happen before that?
Brian's wife, she made us corned beef and cabbage, and so
the day after my birthday.
It was the day after Brian's birthday, and Brian loves corned beef and cabbage. So Brian and Jared wouldn't eat it, but I'm not picky, so I was over there munching.
Cold corned beef and cabbage. Oh,
Corned beef and cabbage. That makes me.
Ugh.
That makes my stomach turn.
I'll never eat it again, though. It's bad luck.
I think it was the corned beef and cabbage that caused a lot of the luck.
Yeah.
But we kept moving around because the ducks weren't coming in.
No, and we loaded everything up to head back.
We did have a guy behind us that was just blasting at things about 3 miles away on the first spot.
That was first thing in the morning. I think we'd have had better luck, except for we had someone that walked in behind us.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, we hit a couple. I don't know how many we get. 2 each.
I don't remember any part of the story except for the end.
But so
That was the most important part, I guess.
So anytime you go somewhere with Ron, he's gonna maximize time, right? So he's gonna find a way to make sure you can use every single second of sunlight.
And most seconds after sunlight and before sunlight, and anything close to sunlight.
Hey, we'll tell the story later why that's true and why you got to do it that way.
So Ron says, "Well, I think it's about to," and I'm just, I'm out there happy as can be, just doing what I'm told.
Good little Indian.
I just enjoy being out in nature and seeing everything, and so Ron's like, "I think we probably ought to go back, Brian. We ought to go back." And Brian, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
It's getting a little dark.
It's getting a little dark, and so we're heading back, and we get high centered, so we have to get out and push it.
Yeah. With those mud motors, you could go in about 3 inches. You think 3 to 6 inches of water.
Yeah, probably a good 3 to 6 inches.
And so when you get stuck on some of those, I guess they're sandbars or something.
Yeah.
Two guys have to get out and push, where the one guy runs the motor.
So we were doing that, and then we finally we were making pretty good speed and everything, and we're heading back, and it's getting darker, and it's getting darker.
And we are almost too short. We flipped on the floodlights.
And suddenly I look to the front, and I'm like, I think that's water coming in. So anyway, I don't know. The three of us ended up on top of each other back by the motor, and Ron, we were in the channel, the deep channel, about 10 feet deep?
Yeah, we had gone over a sandbar because we shoved the motor into the mud to go over the sandbar. We go over the sandbar, and it dips down, and Jared goes, and he
wasn't even excited about it.
He looks at me and goes, "Hey Ron, I think there's water coming in the boat."
Yep.
And then Brian looks and goes, "Ron, turn the boat! Turn the boat!"
We had all the decoys on the front of the boat, so you couldn't really see anything, but water was coming into our feet pretty fast.
And Jared's like, "I think there's water coming in the boat." That doesn't belong here, right, guys?
I just figured we'd be able to, walk on the bottom once our waders filled up.
Anyway, so we crank it hard, and then before we know it, the whole boat's under.
Luckily enough, we got through the channel onto the other side of the channel where it was shallow enough to where we were probably a
Belly
inch
button?
or two over the side of the boat. I mean,
we were deeper than that. We were at least to our belly buttons at that point.
It was belly buttons when we got out, but sitting on top of the mud,
yeah, a little
it
bit
went
lower.
right, and this is another lucky part of the story, it went right to the bottom of the carburetor. Not over the carburetor, right below the bottom of the carburetor.
Right below the bottom. And you'd know that. I wasn't out there for that part, so.
Well, and then, the funny part was, so my phone doesn't work out there. Ron's phone is in the water somewhere.
I decoyed it for the ducks.
So, yeah, he was calling ducks. That's not the way. I'd tell him it wasn't the way we called ducks.
You got to
out here.
donate to the hunting cause, right, Brian?
Yeah.
So the only thing we have left is
didn't
Jared's
work,
phone. Jared's phone was sitting on the gun box.
Well, yeah, it was on a gun. It was on a.
It was on the gun box, but
Right.
it was just so happened when he set it on the gun box, he set it on my gun case,
Right.
which just so happens to be a floating gun case.
So right at the end, my phone was floating out of the top of the boat. And I grabbed it real quick. I was like, I'm not going to be like Ron. I ain't losing my phone tonight.
and Jared's is the only phone that worked at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, your phone didn't have reception.
Yep, my phone didn't have reception out there. Ron's was a little wet. Worse for the wear.
Here's three scared rednecks standing on the middle of the lake. Well, it wasn't the middle. What we were probably 300 yards from shore, 200 yards.
Yeah, probably 200 yards. It wasn't as far, but
there was a
and waders.
channel between us and every shore that was like 10 feet deep.
Yes.
So luckily we weren't running the dog at the time, and so we brought a kayak out with us to retrieve ducks. And so luckily we at least had a kayak with us that we could paddle back in.
Well, the kayak was loaded. We didn't paddle in with the kayak yet.
Yeah, I know. So what happened is we took the kayak off, and I said, "Hey, Brian, you stay here with the boat." Why did you stay with the boat? I don't remember.
Because there was only two of you with the kayak. and you wanted to make
I
sure
think
that nobody
we-
stole the boat. I guess.
No, I don't know. We left you with the boat for some reason.
Because
Brian
you're
didn't
like,
maybe to
argue.
make sure we can
watch
find
this.
it again?
He's gonna freeze. Watch this. We can watch him shiver from shore.
Hey. So me and Jared go walking back, and Sunnyside is notorious for having like these weeds that you can't
Yeah, the
get
reeds
through.
were thick.
And so me and Jared are essentially holding on the kayak, walking through on our knees.
That's right. Yeah, the kayak kept us from drowning.
Yeah, walking through on our knees to get over there, and finally
Well-
we get to the channel.
Yeah, so when we get to the channel, I'm kind of sick of being out there at this point. And so Ron's like, oh, maybe one of us can get on the kayak, hold the kayak, I'll get on and I'll get across.
Uh-huh.
And I just said, screw it. And I just jumped across the channel.
You held onto the kayak though, because we didn't know how deep it was.
Right, we didn't know how deep
You
it
walked
was.
the kayak across.
And so the water's coming in over the waders. I couldn't touch the bottom right there.
Oh really?
Yeah,
you
I had
told
to
me you
sw-
could.
No, I couldn't touch the
He
bottom
lied
right
to me
there.
this whole time.
I
he said,
jumped.
"I said, are you okay, Jared?" He goes, "Yeah, I can touch the
Well,
bottom."
the first couple steps, I could touch the bottom, and then I had to lean and jump across. And so the water was coming in. My feet were pretty cold. My chest was cold, but I got to the reeds.
Yeah.
And so my job was then, we weren't that far from where we parked, but my job was to get through the reeds,
Through the cattails.
through the cattails,
Yeah.
and they were thick. So I would jump at them, kick them, stomp them to push them
I
over.
hate cattails so
The
much.
funny thing was, so we're like, man, these reeds, they're not that deep. He should be up at the top of the shore by now.
It was taking
and
me
it's
forever.
like it's like 45 minutes, and it's
Yeah.
like literally like maybe a couple hundred yards if you're lucky.
Not even that. It was probably if I took a straight shot, it would have been probably 50 yards.
So we go back to bring some stuff back in. That they'd taken some of the decoy bags up.
I got Jared across and sent him to shore, and I went back and got Brian. I said, "Hey, Brian, let me get you back. Let me get you back." And I walked Brian back to the shore at that point.
So I walk up the path, and as I'm walking straight up the path, I'm looking all over, and there's this zigzag pattern through the reeds.
I zigzagged generous. It was like meandering back and forth through the reeds.
I leaned back to Ron. I'm like, well, I found out why it took Jared so long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
north to me was probably this way at that point.
it was really dark. You were tired, and it was cold.
It was.
It was hard to get through those reeds, though, and I finally got through, and we were able to make some calls to Ron's buddies that happened to be...
Yeah, we called old Brady and Kyle, that are the wildlife managers up there of the WMA.
And that's when it really got interesting because they weren't set with the resources that we probably needed for this particular situation.
for this rescue operation.
So they brought this utility rope out.
What was it rated at?
It was rated at 200 pounds.
That's right.
So we're talking a 17-foot John boat beneath the water with 200 pounds of motor on it by itself. So we're probably 2,700, 2,800 pounds that we're pulling out of the water. And so, but that wasn't long enough. That was just to get us in the neighborhood.
We were in the general vicinity at that point.
So they had a bunch of tow straps. They were just daisy chaining tow straps together until we could get it out to reach the boat, which would reach the dike that you could drive on that dike.
Yeah, I tied it to the hook I was out there the whole time,
And so then we took all those ropes and everything, tied them up, got them out to Ron on the boat, got everything tied up, and they would take one truck and tie it around the bumper, make a change of direction so you could drive down the dike
make
with
it
it.
90.
And made that 90 and then
90
pulled that
degree, yeah.
rope. When we pulled it, we probably pulled it a couple hundred yards.
Well, we had to first off. We were basically parallel with the bank, and we had to tee off to the bank with the boat. So they had to rotate the whole boat by pulling it, and then they pulled it slowly but surely.
We pulled it a couple hundred yards, and then
We
got
got
it
up
to
on a
where it was
sandbar.
shallow enough on the sandbar that we could, bail it out a little bit and get it to float and Ron paddle it back home.
Now the
But
battery still worked underwater.
The
which I
lights
thought was
the lights
crazy.
were on the entire
lights
time.
Were on
Lights
the
were
whole
on the
time.
entire time, which
and
was
the
helpful.
sub pump worked.
Yeah.
After it was trying to pump. After I turned it off, I turned it back on. I was like, this thing still works. This is nuts.
Well, and the funny part was once that 200-pound test rope pulling 2,700, 2,800 pounds didn't break until we got it all the way on the shallows where that boat was out of the water enough.
I forgot to say before all of that to use the phone. I don't have Kyle and Brady's number in my phone. Ron doesn't have it memorized. I had to call Kate.
How did Kate get it? I wonder.
I don't know, but I said
She
Kate.
called Cam.
Yeah.
Oh,
She called Cam, and Cam called Brady.
Yeah, so I had to call Kate and let her know, hey, we're not dead.
Which is a general conversation that my wife expects when I go out with Ron.
We have a bit of a situation, and I don't have great reception, and it may cut out. So I need you to have these people call me on my number right now.
Yeah, and Cam and Brady were a lifesaver, man. And they pulled that boat out the whole way, and I bucketed it out and put the bilge pump on, and then I stood in the middle of this like 17-foot john boat with a canoe
It was cold
paddle.
too. It was really, really cold. Like we were fine during the day, but at that point we'd been out there all day.
Yeah, it was below freezing.
We
for
broke
sure.
ice to get out there.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably in the teens by the time we were. It was 11, 12 o'clock at
Yeah.
night by the time we were getting.
Well, and it didn't help
the boat
because
out.
Jared's jacket. I think you'd had your jacket off at the time.
I had
and
my jacket off.
his jacket was so it went down with the boat.
It's a big down jacket.
And that thing, I kid you not, that jacket was probably 250 pounds by the
It was
time we got
heavy.
it out of the boat.
It was full of water.
You left that thing in my garage till the end of duck season. I just let it dry for a whole year.
Yeah, Ron let it dry out for a year, air out, dry out, and
Still smells like muddy water.
it still smells like muddy water. I've taken it snowboarding and sledding still. We're okay.
Yeah.
But that was I know it was an interesting trip, but you kind of learn a couple lessons along the way. And it's a story that, that's story number one that we have with Jared that went sideways.
So I was
but
out there working the whole time, and you guys were working from the shore and guiding stuff in, but I was out there in the water in the cold the whole time, and I was like, I could drive home.
Oh, Ron was exhausted.
And then Jared's like, Ron, pull over and get out of the car.
Well, and it was-
because I was like,
Well, I like to give him choices. Like, Ron, I think you're falling asleep. I can drive. I'm willing to drive. No, I got it. No, Ron doesn't let other people drive. He trusts me now to drive now. Now he knows that I'm not
I
good.
trust people. I feel like it's my responsibility.
well, and we left. I think we left that morning 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning to
Yeah,
get
it
out
was
there.
probably,
and
it was about 3 in the morning.
it was about 3:30 in the morning when we came back home, somewhere around that
Yeah.
time. So it was a long day.
I was jello nicking so hard. Jared's like, just pull over, man. I saw you close your eyes for a good minute there.
if we didn't die out on the lake, let's not die on the road.
And I think I was after like 4 Red Bulls too. So
We were at the point where Red Bulls don't mean anything.
Yeah, I was like throwing a bucket of water on a single
I was
boat.
cold for a long time after that. Getting the water into the waders down into your toes and all over
Yeah.
your chest, and having your clothes be a little bit wet.
well, and the
from
first
that.
thing I did once I got to shore, we got Brady and them coming to help us out. First thing I did is start the car up and crank the heater up
Yeah.
full blast.
So nice.
We got in. I think it was probably 90 degrees in that car by the time we got in it. But everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever."
We should have been home probably 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, around there.
But the corned beef cabbage did survive because it was floating on the water over the fish later on that evening.
yeah, I'm gonna blame the whole experience on corned beef and cabbage, not Jared.
I don't know because the next story
I think
leads
you
us
guys-
right back to
well,
Jared
you guys
again.
keep thinking of this like it sucks or something like that. I think that I'm a blessed human being that you guys would have died without me out there.
Well, yeah, but the next story will cancel that blessedness out. So
So yeah, you can tell that one. That's your favorite one. You can tell your fishing story.
yeah, we'll tell the fishing story.
Ryan's gonna tell some crazy story.
He loves
Things
these
that
fishing
happened.
stories, man. He don't catch much, but he
I
sure
don't-
tells stories.
I don't remember much evidence about what he was catching, but go ahead, Brian.
yeah. So
We let him tell us so he stays our friend.
since we didn't die with Jared the first time, I thought it'd be a good idea to put Jared on a boat again,
On the same boat.
on the same boat. But this time we decided, well, there's a fishing tournament.
Not the boat is Jared.
We said, well, let's do this fishing tournament with Woods and Waters, and we'll go out and we'll take Jared out and we'll go up to Utah and do this fishing tournament.
Now Jared has a house with one male boy. How old's Preston?
17.
The rest are girls.
Yeah,
So you
5
got to
girls.
get him out sometime.
you got to get them out like more than.
But
more
my
than
girls
you.
like fishing and stuff more than Preston does. The girls love to go fishing and stuff.
Yeah,
But it's
that's
different
true.
when they're young because you don't get to do a lot of fishing when you take
You do a lot of tying
a lot of time
and baiting.
Yeah,
Do a lot of rock fishing.
rock fishing.
But we get out there and we do this Woods and Water tournament. So we get there earlier in the morning. We get everything set up, and Ron and I, man, in the morning, Ron and I were just killing it. I mean, just slaying it. Jared's sitting there with his pole. It's Jared and his pole.
You didn't complain though.
No, he did not complain. And so Ron and
I was
I
about ready to throw Brian over, but I didn't say anything about it.
Ron and I are catching fish like left and right. We're throwing some
big
back.
fish.
Big fish. So
Big fish.
at one point, I've got a fish on, and I'm like, I got this fish on. I'm reeling in. I'm like, that's a big fish. This is gonna be a good fish. And Ron's like, oh, I think you're tangled up in my line. I'm like, oh man.
You're
I think
tangled
that was
up in
after
the
your
anchor.
30-minute
Well, but
nap.
you thought I was tangled up in your line. And I'm like, oh man, it's not a fish. I'm just tangled up in Ron, and he's trying to reel in when I'm trying to reel in.
I was smashing it that morning, so you thought it was my ball.
So Ron's trying to untangle these lines, right? He's like, dude, you got a fish on. And he goes, he's tangling it, and he goes, dude, your other pole's got a fish on it too. And so both of these fish had not just wrapped around one anchor. We double set anchors. They'd wrap themselves around both anchors and came back. And so Ron's getting this stuff all tangled up.
You gotta tell why you double set anchors. If you're gonna be stupid, you better be tough, right? Why do we double set anchors?
Because we were moving like
because the
crazy.
wind was windy.
Yeah.
It was super windy. Yeah.
In this boat, we've already sank.
In the boat we already sank. So it's windy, so we set double anchors because we're moving too much, right?
Yeah.
And so Ron finally gets the one fish up, and I pull it up. It's a nice trout.
It was really nice.
Beautiful trout.
Yeah.
Pull the
Biggest
second
one you
fish
ever
up.
caught.
Yeah, biggest trout I've ever caught. The second one I pull up, it's a good sized trout. It's definitely a good trout. The first one was probably about 26 inches is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
And so put trout on the stringer, all the trout on the stringer. Well, we're still fishing. We go fish another cove. Jared catches a couple.
It started really whipping. So
Yeah,
we moved
it started
to
really
another
whipping.
cove.
We moved to a cove to get some shelter, and it was all small fish. I'm like, well, there's only small fish here because
I think
the
I
big
caught
fish.
two
are not
itty bitty
here.
guys. And when I say itty bitty, I don't know how you catch like a 9-inch trout.
Jared is the master fisherman because he's done something I've never seen anybody in my life do. He caught a shrimp
On a hook.
while he was fishing on a hook.
It was on the hook. Yeah, I had a bite, and I'm like, oh, there's a bite, and then there's nothing on it. Well, there was on the treble hook. There was a little tiny shrimp, the shrimp that are in Panguitch.
Yeah.
So he probably could have got smallest fish for that one. But
So I kind of
I like to think of I got the multi-species award.
but we had a lot of good fish. We had a stringer full. Ron and I had limits.
How many did we have?
Jared had Jared.
I let the little 8-inchers go.
So we had limits up there, and so it starts getting really windy to the point where, dude, we gotta get back in the shore for a little bit.
Jared's having like PTSD.
Yeah,
like
flashback.
sunny side. He's
I was
like,
thinking,
he's
what's
like,
the worst that happened? We
we're
sink
not
the
gonna-
boat, and then nobody knows what you guys caught.
he's like, we're not gonna pull this one out, boys. If we sink it, it's too deep.
So Ron had
I think I did make that comment.
Ron had caught probably the smallest fish that Ron and I had caught for the morning, and he was going to put it on the stringer. So
But it started whipping.
he'd
really
unclip
hard.
his stringer and it started whipping really hard. He goes, you know what? We just got to get back in. So he chucks the fish in the bottom of the boat. No big deal. We start cruising to the shore. I mean, it's hammering. And Jared and I are kind of up in the front of the boat, and we're hitting these waves, and Ron's just plowing through these waves, and Jared and I are just getting soaked.
It's coming up off the waves, and it's a flat bottom John boat. It's just smacking,
Nailing us.
It looks like it looks like a pirate ship just smashing water all over Brian's beautiful beer.
I was
enjoyed
wondering if the
watching it.
water was just going to come, and Ron was just trying to get there fast enough so we were shallow again.
And so we
I
get
learned one thing: get shallow.
we get about halfway from the cove to the dock, and Ron looks at me with a serious look on his face. He said, "Where'd that stringer of fish go?" Ron did not secure the stringer of fish.
Wait.
I don't know if that's how the story went. No.
Yeah, Ron did not. That's true. I guess
Hey,
that's
but
true.
I was all the way in the back. I think you untied it for me, and I just never tied it.
Oh, I didn't untie it for you. You had the fish by your feet.
I don't think you caught fish to begin with.
I didn't think they were ever there.
So we
Well,
lose this fish. We even in the wind and everything else. So we spun around and looked for a minute, but we're like, okay, we're gonna.
No. I dropped you back off at dock.
Yeah, and Ron went back looking. We walked the shore, drove ashore for probably an hour.
Because it was whipping. We thought maybe the fish would make it into the shore.
Exactly.
It was moving.
Yeah.
And so finally we're like, well, you know what? We're not finding them. So we go back, and now by this time
We have our one little medium-sized fish, like
It's
the
checking.
smallest one we caught.
the smallest fish we caught
It was 13 inches about.
won third place in the tournament.
Oh, was it actually third?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was third place in the tournament.
Does that make you even more upset, Jared?
Oh, man.
My fish probably would have been
Jared's-
5 or 6 inches bigger than any fish that was caught in the tournament, and almost every other fish on our stringer would have won that tournament,
Allegedly.
allegedly.
Brian caught the biggest fish he's ever caught.
Allegedly. And then so I post a story on Facebook, and the support from my best friend Ron over here. He's like, I did not see this fish Brian allegedly caught.
I'm
Hey,
pretty
but
competitive.
Yeah, Jared's hyper.
we-
He says pretty. He's hyper competitive.
We don't know what happened to that stringer.
What do you always say? We're out fishing.
Defense, man. I don't know which part.
No, that's Ron. Ron will cut your line. Ron will cut your line so he has the
Hey,
biggest fish.
Listen, Haas, I helped you pull that fish in. I spent a good half an hour untangling from the egg.
So we're like, Well, we still got some more fishing to do. I mean, tournament's over. Well, we go to dinner.
We had a
So
nice steak dinner.
They have a steak dinner. It's great. If
Really
you ever
great
have a
dinner,
chance
yeah.
to go to that Woods and Waters tournament, they do a steak dinner afterwards. It's great deal. Great camaraderie, great group of guys.
Really good guys, yeah.
We're sitting at this dinner, and of course, with every dinner that a club like that does, there's some raffles. So we hadn't really won anything. Well, Jared won a gift certificate of something, and they toss this gift certificate to Jared. They throw it to him, and I'm like, "Congratulations, Jared! That's the first thing you caught all day." And everybody just looks at me, "Man, you guys are harsh."
We take it, though. That's kind of the way it goes the whole way.
So then we decide, well, this day didn't work out like we wanted to. We're going to keep fishing, right? So we put the boat back on the water. And we're fishing for probably 20 or 30 minutes. We're doing okay.
Brian is absolutely smashing.
Yeah, I'm
like me
smashing.
and Jared are catching.
I caught
like
one or two. I mean, I did better than earlier, but I
every
caught one or two.
single stupid time Brian casts out, he's reeling one in. Like he's like, "Oh, payback's the best."
Probably the first 45 minutes it was like that.
So I've got a fish on, and I reel it in, and it's starting to pour, it's starting to hail, the wind's kicking up. So I cast back out. I get the fish off. I cast back out. And we're like, dude, we got to go in. I'm like, hold on, let me reel this line. My line has been in the water literally, 30 seconds?
Yeah, 30
And
seconds.
I'm like, dude, I got a fish on. And Jared's like, your line, shut up.
RB here.
So I pull this fish in, and Jared's like, man. But then I didn't catch anything. We got everything to shore. It stopped raining after like 10, 15 minutes because those Utah storms, they come up and they go.
Yeah.
And then I didn't catch anything else the rest of the night.
Yeah, and I did. I started
Jared
catching
did pretty
fish.
good after that.
Yeah.
And Ron caught a few. But then we end up with the mysterious note on our car.
Yeah, I still don't know who put that on there. It drives me nuts.
Ron, the whole trip home, so they put this note on our car, and it says, leave it to a bunch of Logandale redneck boys to bring a duck boat out fishing.
On Penguins, yeah.
Now they're
on
talking.
penguins.
Brian's trying to talk about me like I'm bad luck, but I didn't lose any fish.
You were with us, though.
I know I was. But I
You didn't catch any either, so.
I did. The ones that we had on the stringer, I had something to do with. All these ones that allegedly were there before.
But so Ron, the whole way home, Ron's sitting in the car going, and it ended to go like 20, 30 minutes, and Ron's like, man, I really want to know who put that note on our car.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still don't know.
Yeah,
Wait, great. You're going to keep me up at night again.
Yep, I am. That's right.
I started texting people and calling people on the ride home.
So
Kate's
Woods
gonna
and
be like-
Water, do they have Penguins again on the slate this year? or-
Yep, Penguins is the third tournament, I think.
No,
Okay.
is it Penguins? I didn't see Penguins on there.
No,
They
it's
got-
Otter Creek. It's Otter Creek.
this
Well, I'm
year.
getting kind of pissed reliving this, and having Brian talk all this crap about it. So this time, man, it's on, Brian.
Dude, you had a chance. We went ice fishing. You could have come.
I didn't go ice fishing.
No, so they got Sunnyside coming up on April
Next weekend.
Next March 30th. Sunnyside's March 30th, and they've got Cummins
March
on April.
16th or 17th.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's coming up next weekend, yeah. And then they've got Sunnyside or Cummins coming up on the 9th,
April 8th and 9th.
and then they got Otter on.
April 30th, I think, is
Yeah,
Otter.
that's right at the end of the month. So they've got 3 good fishing tournaments coming up. It should be fun.
And-
Well, I guess they're not tournaments; they're club gatherings. But
Yeah, there's
Well, if I'm there, it'll be a tournament. I'll tell you that much.
well, there's
was-
always a
they're
competition.
hot.
So, like Ron right now, I want to say Ron's sitting second or third in the standings
Really?
right now,
Yeah.
and I'm
Just from that one trip? Or?
I'm fifth or
well,
sixth,
there's only one, so we got like the third biggest.
oh,
yeah.
this is for 2021.
and I'm like fifth or sixth in the tournament. And Ron and I, we're pretty competitive, just like Jared. I mean, we're not gonna
Yeah.
we don't slack, especially when it comes to fishing, because we know we can do pretty good most of the time.
Yeah, we
but-
do okay at it, so we'll go ahead and compete.
Exactly. I mean, these boys up there, we're not going to compete against them shooting most of the time, but we can sure catch some fish and we have a good time. And I'll tell you, it's the camaraderie. And one of the things that, man, with Jared, I think Jared, besides Ron, I think Jared's one of my favorite people to have out with us
Thanks,
and in a
Brian.
blind with us. And we can have, we'll bust on each other the entire time. There's not a minute that somebody's not saying something derogatory about somebody else.
Very hurtful.
And but
we just laugh.
we laugh and we have those conversations. We can have some pretty in-depth conversations about things that are pretty important things, and
It goes both sides of the spectrum.
It does.
doesn't it? It's like super serious, like heart to heart man talk, and then next thing I'm like, your mom, like just like high
Your
school
mom was so
boy.
fat.
Yeah.
It's fun.
and that's the thing is that, I mean, the experiences we have and we go out, and anything you do with Ron's going to be an experience because something crazy is going to happen. I don't care when you go out.
Every time I've gone with
Hey,
Ron, we've had an experience.
It's well, I mean, I think a lot of people don't have experiences because they don't go out. So everybody's like, when I
Yeah,
go out
that's
with
true.
Ron, we have experiences. It's because like when you're gonna go out with me, we're gonna push the limits. We're gonna stay
We're gonna
out
go
till
hard.
dark. We're gonna do
Well,
stupid stuff. We're gonna.
I will
try
say
to be
Ron's been the
successful.
one that's gotten me out too, because I'll get pretty caught up in life and coaching and everything else going on, and then I'll find excuses not to get out. I have gone out a little bit more just by myself lately.
Oh wait, no invite for your buddies? What's
Well,
up
it's
with
like-
that?
He
Oh, he
called
wants
us-
to catch fish.
He
That's
called
why.
us. We were up doing goose boxes.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I'll just go out there to the lake and relax because I like being out there. And the last time I went, there was no wind, and you could actually see the stars reflect off the lake. It was amazing, you know.
Well, you don't have to have. I mean, it's just proof you don't have to have a perfect trip to go out. I mean, there's days I've been in a duck blind and we been with my kid and we haven't maybe an afternoon where you're not shooting anything. There's not even anything flying, and it's just to be out there and have that experience and get away from everything and all the stress. You've got a job where it can be pretty stressful.
Especially right now, man.
Right now is a stressful time of year, and with the kids in Vegas going back on campuses and all of that getting sorted out and people building schedules. And
Yeah, Jared worked for the school district. He's been a teacher for years. He's very selfless. He's a very intelligent guy, but he chose a job that like kind of reflects his heart more than his wallet pocketbook. And so,
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
I always look up to Jared for that.
No, and I
so.
do too. And he's been. I mean, he was one of my kids' teachers for a while, and man, it's to have teachers that actually care about these kids is, you know, it's hard to find sometimes, especially in a big city. It's hard to find. And Jared actually made the choice to move to a tougher school in a big city, so he left where his home is. 'Cause he lives out here with Ron and I, and he moved into a big city and to a school that's a little bit of tougher school to teach at, I think. And
it's a good school, though. It's you know, anything big is going to be tougher than a small 500 student school.
Well, you
Right.
got a lot more kids with social economic issues, and so
Yeah.
it makes your counseling job even the more like
Important. You got to reach out.
Important.
to these
There you
kids.
go.
Well,
See, always an optimist.
I will
man.
say this. I lucked into a situation, both as a teacher at Shadow Ridge High School, is the school that I'm at, where I was collaborating with some of the best people I've worked with in my career. That was
Really?
a wonderful experience, yeah.
You want to give shout outs to anybody?
Yeah, Katie McShay, Katie McCombs, Nicole Easley, Alex Moore last year, the English department for 9th grade, working with them on a daily basis where we could just talk to each other and work with each other. I think that was the greatest teaching experience of my career, and I've really enjoyed my career.
Yeah.
Working with those people and collaborating on curriculum and talking about, hey, I've got this kid with this, what do you do for that? It was always there. And then switching to counseling during a pandemic has been insane. But I work with some of the greatest people you can possibly work with. My supervisor, Missy Ship, and then the whole counseling department. There are 8 of us. And so every single one of them has to get bugged by me because I'm the new guy, and I try to spread it around to all of them.
Just give all the love, huh?
But they're all selfless, wonderful people in my experience. The things that I see them do for kids on a daily basis is remarkable.
And you know he means it too, because he didn't have to think about the names. He's like, 5 names.
Well, and that's the thing. And Jared's one of those guys too that he'll take the kids that are sometimes more of a challenge, and I think you get a lot of enjoyment out of seeing those kids succeed. And so you'll put in a lot of effort into these kids that sometimes those kids get overlooked. And
Yeah.
that's sometimes it just takes that one person. And that's kind of with Ron and I with being so up on the mentoring is sometimes it just takes that one interaction to change the situation. And we're going to have, I mean, Ron and I there's a program we're starting that's going to be kind of one of the goals is to get these kids that don't have the socioeconomic status to be able to go out and hunt and fish and do these things, that maybe come from a tougher background, and getting these kids out in the field and getting them an opportunity to see the world through a different lens. And I think you can bring a different lens into these guys, and you can bring it down to a level where they can understand you. So sometimes what we see is the kids get a little bit tougher to deal with, and everybody's on this level up here, and they're being the adult in the situation, and you have a way of bringing it down while still being the adult in the situation, getting down on their level and interacting with them that way.
There's a man I work with right now that's a remarkable man. He's a good Christian man. His name's Irvin Paget. He and his wife are great people. He's a retired military man and a retired college professor of math. And he decided to take the lowest salary you can in Clark County School District because he feels like he's supposed to reach out and help teenagers. So this is a man that doesn't need to work, but he's doing it for love. And I was talking to him, and he really does love all of these kids, and he was talking about that. He was just saying that's what the responsibility is to reach out to people and help other people and connect with them. But he also said this: it's important that you don't, this is something I just read this week from him. He said it's important that people don't treat kids like they're kids. Don't call them kids. Don't call them, he said, treat them on a level that's equal, not lower than. And I think that's the key when you work with kids. I've seen Ron with younger people. I just call them kids. You shouldn't. But I've seen Ron with a lot of younger people.
Young men.
Young men.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm talking like 11-year-old boys.
They're still men.
But he makes them feel like $1 million, my son included. And they're part of a group. They're not the little guys that you point at.
That's important when you go out hunting too with a new guy. You're not like, hey, this is the newbie. He misses everything. You know, he sucks. Da, da, da.
Not to mean that we're not going to bust on you the whole entire time
But we're not
you're
going
there.
to call you the new guy. We're going to treat you like you're part of the gang.
So that's one of the things that I think we miss in leadership. A lot of times that's what happens, and is you end up treating the new guy like the new guy, and you treat him like he's a piece of garbage because he's a new guy or less experienced. And part of the game is, you know, you're bringing a new hunter in, and that if we want to grow our sport and we want to grow the hunting industry, especially waterfowl hunting, it's not going to happen if we make it miserable for everybody to come out.
Yeah.
So everybody's got to be the new guy for a while. It's just the way it's going to be. But you can either treat him like the new guy, or you can treat him like one of the guys and teach him along the way. And if you treat him like one of the guys and teach him along the way with little, hey, yeah, it was probably a little too early, or I'm going to bust on you for as soon as you pull the trigger, all 3 shells are gone. But we're having fun with it. But
we already know each other too.
Brian's just mad because he shot more ducks than him that day.
But we did it the same thing with Josh, though. I mean, we were from the start, the time he got on that boat with us, we were on him just like we were on you or Ron, and that's part of being in the blind with us. Is we're gonna mess with you, but it's all in good fun. But we'll be the first ones also to teach you, and you have a question, we'll answer the question. We're not gonna make you feel like an idiot for asking the question. That's how you're gonna get better. Is we're gonna teach you.
Well, Jared's teachable too. It makes it easy.
He's teachable.
But when it comes,
he's got
to
a lot to learn, so he should.
I got a lot to learn about hunting.
Well,
what do I have now? I think I've bagged 4 ducks in 2
man,
trips.
you're doing
Well,
it.
we're gonna get you on some big game too. So
Yeah. No, so when it
This
comes
year,
to
that's the plan, right? If I can draw a tag.
Oh, absolutely. No, we'll get you. But when it comes to embracing the suck, like hunting is inherently sucky.
especially waterfowl
You're
hunting.
in the cold. You're up early. You're eating cabbage in a boat. I mean, you don't have to make it that sucky. You don't have to eat cabbage in the boat.
I'd rather
But
starve than eat the cabbage.
but like hunting's inherently sucky. Even with deer hunting, you're up early. You're hiking. You're in the cold. You're looking for deer. You know, but even though it's sucky, if you're with a group of guys, kind of like that tribal mentality where you're out hunting prey. You know, it gets really primal, and then you're with a group of guys that you actually like, and you are being teachable, and you are treating each other good. It makes the experience just like you want to just keep coming back.
Well, I think the key too is I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I tell people all the time this. The only place that in my life I felt truly relaxed, like I didn't worry, was fishing. When I went out duck hunting, I felt the same way. I felt truly relaxed. And it's not that there aren't energy things, you know.
I'm relaxed until the boat starts going underwater.
I know, right? Hold on 1 second. We could cut this out. Let me just shut that door.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, once the boat started going underwater, I got a little stressed. But I think you're right. I think we had a conversation with our friends from Field to Grill when they came on with us. We spent the first half hour talking about PTSD and the effects of just being outdoors and just being in that environment, that it changes your view on things. Ron's got to get himself together, you know. But
You're still
It's just like one of our trips.
exactly.
I guess it's still all crackhead.
Did you lose your phone already?
Look like I lost a phone.
Give it time. But no, if you get out
for water to fill the garage.
This is what. By the way, this is exactly how a hunting trip goes. 100% of the time.
Jared walked into the door. I told him, I said, I looked at Ron tonight and asked if he had a fire extinguisher nearby because there's no way we're going to sink the garage, but we probably could light it on fire. So
Hey, get back to talking about PTSD though, because we've talked to a lot of guys about this.
But yeah, so it's it just does, the outdoors does something to you. So,
I agree.
and being out with some guys that have that mutual understanding and the love for the outdoors, if nothing else, that one element is a common bond. And then when we go out and we're learning to harvest an animal, I think there's something, sounds kind of weird, but there's something primal about going out and hunting an animal, hunting meat, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing something that is going to be able to feed yourself and feed your family. So if we look back when we were cavemen, and Ron still is, but I mean, back when we were really cavemen living in a cave, but
Listen, Longbeard.
you had to do that to survive. So that emotional thing it was just an instinct and you did it to survive. And I think we carry a lot of that with us. And what's happened is society's told us for so long that that's not the right way to do it anymore. But when you get back down to it, that's back to our roots. That's back to bringing us centered. They talk about people with anxiety and stuff like that. If you can do something tactile, you can touch something, or you open something that has a smell to it. A lot of times it can snap you back in reality. I think that outdoors and that hunting, it brings you into that primal reality, right? So we're back to basics. So we don't have to worry about, okay, I've got to do this, and I want to watch this game at this time, and this game's on at that time. That's all gone. It's between you, and you have one goal when you're out hunting, and it's to harvest an animal.
Well,
you know,
when you're in a big city like Vegas, we all grew up in Vegas area.
Yeah.
When you're in a big city like Vegas, you don't notice it, I don't think, but it feels crowded. Everything's up on top of you, right?
Well, and so living out here in Logandale, and I've probably heard it 100 times since I lived out here. So we're in a little bit of a valley, and you come over off of the freeway and you come through like a little mountain pass to get into the valley. And you talk to people in this town, and as soon as you hit that mountain pass, as soon as it opens up to where you can see the valley, it's like a weight is lifted off of your shoulders. And so you're coming in from, we all work in Vegas. So you're coming in from that high stress environment of Vegas, and here it's a relaxed environment. But it's still not the same environment as getting out, and the only thing you're hearing, there's no sirens, there's no ambulances, there's no planes and helicopters. There is just you and nature. And those are the sounds you're having. It's your biggest concern is maybe what you're going to eat for dinner that night, or what time you're going to get up, and what areas you want to hunt in the morning. And I think it's something that just snaps you back to that simpler life, that easier way of thinking, and that primal thing. And so that stress just kind of melts away a little bit.
Well, especially with people in high stress jobs like Jared being a counselor, or me in real estate trying to get the deals closed, or you in inspections, and we put a lot of other things on our plate, like Jared puts coaching on his plate, and me and Brian put a bunch of wildlife conservation stuff on our plate, and so we're always constantly stimulated. And we've talked to several other people that are in similar situations where they're always ramped up, they're always trying to get stuff done. And then, like, when you wake up early in the morning, like, one of my favorite things to do in the deer hunt is you wake up early in the morning, you step out in the dark, you take that first breath of cold air.
I thought you were going to say pee, because that's your first 40 for the day.
It's usually happening at the same time. Yeah, I do pee a lot, but yeah, you take that first breath of cold air, and it's almost like medicinal. It's almost like you're just breathing in. You're just breathing in just nature, and you're just ready to go. And it's just, and then the sun comes up, and it's like another therapeutic, like the therapeutic effects of hunting with stressful jobs and just doing that reset. I think it's highly under-discussed in the medical world.
No, and I think we talk about it a lot. So Ron has told his wife, plain and simple, that hunting's cheaper than therapy. And to be honest with you, Ron and I go 1,000 miles an hour. So we're pretty much going every night of the week. In fact, we were going to do this podcast a little bit later because I had a town board meeting tonight, and then that just happened to get canceled. But we always have something on our plate. And then Ron and I are taking phone calls from other people saying, hey, I want you to start this with me, or I want you to start that with me. And Ron and I finally are getting smart enough to where we're having to make some decisions and try to cut back a little bit, just so we can manage a little bit, because it takes a lot of time away from not only ourselves, and it's stressful on us because we always have something to do, but it takes away time from our families and stuff like that. And so we're having to rein that back in a little bit. And
it's that time of life too where I think you have your kids and you're thinking about it more, because the same thing with me. It used to be, Ron would be like, well, when can we go fishing? Well, let's see, I got this. It was trying to find the time, right? And it was like, hey, I'm not doing anything this Saturday. Oh yeah, I'm not either, let's go. Now I'm trying to make sure and fuel myself a little bit. But yeah, I think this is something I've noticed too, and I've talked to other people about. I'm breaking Ron's garage just by being here. But
the garage is going to blow down. That's going to be the disaster for the day, Jared.
Yeah, you go camping, and while you're up there for a week, or you're up there for 3 days or 5 days or whatever, I always feel energetic. Right? I mean, if I take a nap, I'm tired, but I feel
call
energetic.
it mountain high. Like, you don't have to eat or sleep.
The second you get home,
Oh, you're done. It's
you're
over.
done. Because you're exhausted. Because everything you do up there, it's higher altitude. You're hiking, you're fishing, you're playing. Everything.
You don't feel it though.
But you don't feel it.
Or we go out fishing and we're all in shorts on kayaks and have sunburn for 4 weeks.
Oh my gosh, that was bad. Yeah.
It was awesome though.
It was, man. We smashed it. We
How many
smashed
fish
it.
did we
Smashed
clean?
it.
70.
We had about we had all those kids with us.
We had like
we
10
brought
plus
home.
people,
We had
right?
tons of people. We brought home 80 fish, and we threw more
80
than
fish.
that back.
Yeah, we were. I was
throwing a lot back.
I was throwing probably 4 back for each one I was catching. I mean, it was the fishing was so good. I was in the middle of the lake, and I had a frog jig on, and I'm like, I'm gonna throw this frog. It ain't nothing gonna bite a frog in the middle of the lake, and I caught 4 fish off a frog in the middle of the lake.
Yeah, that was at Boulder Beach, everybody.
Yeah, Boulder Beach. No, that was a Lorenzi. That was Lorenzi that week.
Lorenzi
That
Park?
was at Cold Creek.
Was it Lorenzi Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we can tell that we got. So, anyways, the whole purpose of this episode is embracing the suck, but the suck is actually it's therapeutic.
Yep.
It is, but it gives you stories too, right? So these are trips that I don't think there's a trip that Jared's been on that we won't remember forever, just because there's not
Make
been
it suck so bad.
there's not been a trip that has not had something ridiculously crazy happen.
That's true.
I mean, whether we lose a fish that would have won a tournament, or we're sinking the boat, or there's another story we'll tell about going with Josh in a little bit.
We put Josh and Jared in the boat.
Yeah, I put Josh and Jared in the boat.
We put him in the middle of the boat, and that was no good.
We're 4 big guys, just so you know. I mean, we were.
You're probably the skinniest out of all of us.
I don't know. I thought Brian was.
What are you at, Brian?
I'm like 205 now, I think.
I was pretty thin back then at 235. I'm about 245 right now.
I was about 220 back then.
Yeah.
And Josh is bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
Josh is bigger than all of us.
Well, and that day started, I mean, we put Josh on the boat. We had a cancellation that night, and that was the one. If you listen to the episode with Josh earlier, I'm like, hey, you want to do something stupid? And he's like, well, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, you'll find out.
You'll find out if you go with us.
That was absolutely the worst weather day of Duck I have ever been
snowing.
Snowing, sleet, hail, rain.
No.
Wind.
It wasn't. It was snowing so hard you couldn't look anywhere other than down.
Yeah.
Like it was blowing this way and this way and this way. Like you just had to look down, and we'd like peek out. Like, are there ducks out there?
And
no.
then there were no ducks flying at all.
Hymus limited out again.
Well, yeah. He was somewhere else.
I get so pissed when I start hearing it. You get seriously. I cannot handle hearing that there's somebody else out there getting their limit, and I'm not even seeing something to shoot at.
We couldn't even. There wasn't even a duck that we saw flying that morning.
That's the learning curve, man. We haven't been doing it as long, and there's a lot to learn.
I'm competitive though. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you this: my brother-in-law is a big guy. He's about 6'4", about 300 pounds. Ron's met him, Tim. He's a
Big
big guy.
talker Tim, man. He likes to run his mouth. But I don't talk back to him because he can beat me up.
Yeah, he can beat you up. So Tim, we're hanging out for Christmas one time, and there are 3 brother-in-laws there, and I probably weighed about 200 pounds, maybe 195 back then, and I just think I could beat everybody and everything. So arm wrestling comes up, and I'm like, yeah, I'll arm wrestle you. I'll beat you. There's no chance, right? Like, my legs are probably as big as his bicep. His forearms are as big as my calves.
Big old boy.
He's a big man. There's 0 chance of me ever beating him in an arm wrestling contest. And I'm like, well, maybe if I do it again after he just destroys me. You know, I have this thing in me. I don't understand that I can lose something. I want to compete. So I hear John Hymas bagging all these ducks. It doesn't matter how much experience he has. I think, well, this is my second trip. I'm gonna bag as many as he does, you know. So I get competitive, and I just want to do it. But that's part of the fun for me is that competition too.
I think we're all have that competitive streak, and I think that's part of what makes us go so hard. Because Ron and I don't. I mean, we want to hunt until we're either limited out or we can't hunt anymore.
Or the sun's
legally.
gone down.
Yeah, if the sun's gone, we can't hunt legally. And we're same way with deer. I mean, that was probably one of the hardest hunts we've had to do is the one with your brother when we only had literally less than 24 hours to bag a deer, and
because he had to get back and work.
So, you know, but we filled every other tag that we had this year got filled.
Now let me tell you a story about Brian. One time Brian didn't wait till the end.
Yeah.
One time Brian didn't wait till the end. Recently, we go up goose hunting, Jared. Have I told you this story yet?
No, I haven't heard
Oh,
this.
man. You're going to enjoy this story. We go up goose hunting. And first thing in the morning, these geese come up, and some guy sky busts them, and then they almost get into a fist fight in the bull rush.
Oh,
man.
dude, that was
two people. He's like, F you, and the other guy's like, F you, and another guy's like, I'm coming to you. He's like, don't worry, I'm coming to you. And we're like, yes, do it.
Because this was the guy
ruined our geese hunt.
Yeah, I mean, these geese were coming into us hard, and then he's nowhere near being able to shoot them, and he shoots at them, and then they're gone.
Yeah, don't let Brian distract you. He ruined the hunt too. So, anyways, we go somewhere, and we go. He didn't ruin the hunt. It was mutual. I'm gonna blame it on him though.
Hey,
we go
that's the way Ron
somewhere.
is.
he lost us a fishing competition.
we go somewhere, and then and we do okay, and we come back to this field, and we haven't seen geese all day, and I look at Brian, and Brian goes, "What do you think? You about ready?" I said, "Oh no, man. What do you think?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "Well, if we pack it up now and those geese come and you owe me a hamburger."
Dude, this is not even a hard bet, because we have stayed out there every other time, and in the afternoon, ducks and geese just aren't flying out there.
And I always bet Brian a hamburger and I always lose every single time.
I think I probably got 6 or 7 hamburgers out of him on this bet.
And Brian's like, okay. And so we pack up the goose decoys. As we're packing up like the last 3, here the geese come cupped in to the thing. Cupped into the thing. And I look at Brian and I was like, it's all your fault. I knew we shouldn't have packed
But
up.
the better part is we decided, since usually you'll get your shot, you'll get 1 in the morning early if you get anything.
Oh, yeah, this part. This
Maybe
is my fault.
a little closer to early afternoon, you'll get another one. So I'm like, well, the morning flight came. Let's go grab some breakfast. We'll go to another lake and jump shoot. And so we go grab some breakfast. We go to another lake and jump shoot. We're talking to our friend Ruben, and he was hunting across from us in one of the other bull rushes, and he's like, dude, he goes, why didn't you guys take those geese the other day? And we're like, well, what are you talking about? He goes, dude, right about 10:30, 11 o'clock, he goes, those geese came right into your decoys and cupped in, and we're like, they're going to shoot them. They're going to shoot them.
They're going to kill them.
What are they doing? Why aren't they shooting them? We weren't even in the blind.
We went jump shoot. So anyways, that happens, and then we had a few, you know me, we had a half an hour left about, and I go, okay, Brian, we're going to go walk the bull rushes. No one was there. We're going to walk the bull rush. We're going to jump shoot some ducks. We get back to the gate, we're getting ready to go back to the truck. We have 2 minutes left, and it's me and Rydell. I look at Brian and go, not again, Brian. And we walk down the dike, and this canvasback comes right over our heads, at the buzzer. Pop! Dropped it. But, what you said earlier in the conversation, is no, when I'm out with Ron, it's till dark.
We get every second out of it. Well, and Ron and I do lose track of time when we're fishing. We have no clue what time it is, right?
That one time we went out in my little boat, and we were out until 3 in the morning.
Well, we almost
sunk that one too.
We
filled it with striper, Brian. The only reason we went back is because the waves were getting too high.
The waves were getting too high, so we decided to come back in before we couldn't make it back around the turn into Echo.
Well, and Ron's notorious for that, so
and then after we got back in, we went around Echo, the cove right there for the bay, Echo Bay. We went around there fishing. Yeah. And I was like, what's the worst that can happen? It's just the boat. And he's like, it's my boat.
But
that's what Jared always is. It's just the boat. I'm like, dude, this is my boat. I can't wait till he gets his own boat, and I'm going to be out there, and I'll be like,
just the boat.
See if we can sink this.
Yeah. Well, Ron, we went up to the Ruby Marsh this year for opener, and Ruby Marsh Saturday was okay. Sunday was just
the pits.
The pits. It was hot. There was nothing fun. We're like, you know
Except
what?
For mosquitoes.
We're gonna just drive back into Ely. We're gonna go fish hunt Cummins. We'll see what it's like. We never hunted up there before, so
it's the same way.
We get there. It's blowing 40 miles an hour. Ron's like, I think we can make it. I'm like, I don't know. It's blowing a little hard. And Ron's like, no, I think we could do it. I'm like, all right.
And if I would have been there, I would have said, if Ron says we can do it, that's all right.
I literally looked at Ron. I said, well, if worst comes to worst, we'll just pull the boat over to shore and walk back over the truck and sleep in the truck for the night. It was that bad.
Anyways, so let's get to the last story of Jared, Josh, Brian, and me.
Uh-huh.
At Sunnyside again, in
Same
the
place.
same boat.
Same boat.
Same place, same boat.
Same place.
Same
yeah.
lake.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Same almost bad consequences.
So after we sunk the boat the first time, we super analyzed what went wrong, what we did, how we could fix it, and we made the determination. You know, we had the brain trust together. We figured it out. We said,
We only had one brain between us, and that was in Jared's head. So
yeah, we said that front starts going under. We all
And
run.
I wasn't making the decision, so
That boat starts going under. We all gonna run to the back of it. And sure as shit, we start going through this little channel. And Jared does the same thing. Goes, the water's coming over the front. No, it's Brian this time. So Brian was more excited.
I just go, get rid of the back of the boat.
we were watching it,
Yeah,
right?
Because now Jared and I are paranoid.
We were watching. I mean, we were like, hey, I think it might get, hey, oh, the boat's tipping to the right a little bit. The front's getting low. You know, we were watching it pretty hard.
But it came up. I mean, that wave came over that front of that boat pretty dang quick, and
Yeah.
so we pulled the back of the boat, pulled the front of the boat up out of the water a little bit, and were able to turn the bilge pump on and get it.
All us fat guys ran right to the back of that boat, and the boat goes, whoops. And
Maybe
then,
the extra weight helped.
it was. And then we were standing in the back of the boat, and Brian's like, I think you're going to sink the back of the boat. And we almost did.
We did.
We were trying to bilge it out. Yeah.
On that right side, it was right
Yeah.
near the edge of the
You're
water.
like, I think
yeah.
you're going to sink that, Ron. It was awesome, man. Yeah.
I just have a lot of trust in these guys. You know, I figure.
Well, I think between the three of us, I mean, we have enough skill and ability. I think we can just about get out of just about anything.
I just feel like if the worst thing's happening, that I'm with two guys that I know we can pull through it. It doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I think that's the thing is I think all three of us know no matter what happens out, we all have each other's backs, and we're gonna do our best to get through it if we need to. So sink the boat.
You're gonna be hungry at times. You're gonna have to take a leak and not want to do it because it's so freaking cold outside. If you were to tell me that, I would say no thanks.
Yeah.
But if you say let's go duck hunting, let's go fishing, I'm all about it. And all of those things are attached. So embracing the suck, I guess, yeah. When you put it that way, those things suck.
They do.
But I don't even think about those things when it's time.
What
to
I
go.
think for us too, I think we built that relationship long before we were in a duck blind or on a fishing boat together. I mean, we're all LDS, so we all share that same faith, and we've done a lot of service together, and we
Yeah.
spend a lot of time with boys together. We spend a lot of campouts together, and just having that camaraderie there, and then you add something to where we can get rid of all of. I enjoy service. I enjoy helping people
Me
out.
too, yeah.
But you get rid of all that. I have to serve somebody else, and I'm here, and we're just together serving each other and just having a good time with nothing to worry about, but just focusing on having a good time.
Well,
I think
not a
that
care in the world,
changes a
yeah.
big thing. So, and it makes it these adventures. I mean, they're adventures that build stronger bonds. I think too. I mean, you're the only two people I've ever sunk a boat with, and I hope you're the last two people I ever sunk a boat
I
with.
sunk a boat by myself once.
Did you? See, it's Ron. It's not me.
But I've been on a boat with
Dominator.
Ron without sinking it.
I was up at Sand Hollow, and have you seen that movie, The Mummy?
Oh, you told me about
Have you
this.
seen the movie The Mummy where
Yeah.
that big old mummy comes out of the clouds and he's coming towards him? I'm at Sand Hollow. In
Now
the
you're
middle
going to blame it on a mummy.
did.
Okay.
Listen,
You
yeah.
told me.
I'm sure Jared was in the dust storm. But I see the mummy, he's coming right at me across Sand Hollow, and I look at my kid. I have Avi and Xander in the boat.
Oh,
and they're
man.
little. And
Yeah.
I go, we gotta get to shore. We get to shore, and like it was at Sand Hollow, so we parked on the cliffs, and there's some people on the cliffs. I don't know. They pulled my kids out of the boat, and I tie the boat off to the cliffs, and it's like 3-foot ocean waves coming in. And I call Katie. I was like, hey, you need to come get these kids so I can figure out what I'm gonna do with this boat. And so I walk them all to the parking lot and come back, and my boat is under the water, tied to a rope with a Harbor Freight string on it.
That's Ron's favorite store, by the way, is Harbor Freight.
They're a sponsor of the show. Thank you very much. Harbor Freight. No, they're not.
But if you want to be, hey.
You don't want Harbor Freight as a sponsor. What are you gonna get?
We need some more of that
some
200
zip ties for your beard, Jack Sparrow.
some 200-pound test rope.
Yeah, we need some more 200. Anyways, I come back and I had to do the same thing where I had to like bucket out the boat and like paddle it back to shore. Like so, I'd already done it without you boys. So
Well,
it was a lot warmer though. I was in cargo shorts in that one. It was wonderful.
Ron's one of those guys that, we go on a scout trip one year and we're up in northern Utah and we'd gone kayaking, whitewater rafting for the day. And so it was you and Scott, I think, were with us. I don't think you were with us on that one,
No, I wasn't
Jared.
on that one.
The other Jared was with us.
My
Jared
son
Odell.
was there,
Yeah.
though. My son had a lot of stories to tell when he came home.
We come back and he had to drive up the Provo River to get back to camp and everything else. So we're driving up Provo River, and there's a sign, and the sign made Ron decide we need to stop here because it absolutely said no fishing and no diving from bridge. So here's Ron and Scott and every one of the boys jumping off a bridge directly in front of a dam that's producing power actively.
I don't raise wussies.
You don't.
So yeah, no, well, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys going out there and doing the sucky things with me. I probably wouldn't be here if you guys weren't here. Probably killed myself.
He needs a voice of reason.
You guys don't. You guys never disagree with me. That's how we get into these situations.
Ron is the guy that says, let's try this, let's try that. Okay.
Jared says okay, and Brian goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, he's in the boat with me.
Well, that's the thing is I think Ron and I talk about it quite a bit with each other is we kind of balance each other out a little bit. So Ron's a little bit over aggressive sometimes, and I'm a little bit under aggressive sometimes, and then you mix Jared in, and we know we're going to do some damage to something.
I'm just happy to be here.
Jared says along for the ride. Yeah, whatever you guys want to do.
Sounds good, man.
And we do. I think we have a good time, and I think we have experiences, and you can bring somebody else out with you. And the cool thing about it is sometimes you bring a friend like Jared. I consider Jared a friend, just like Ron. And
Yeah, absolutely.
you bring another person into that mix, right? So you have three good friends, and you bring a fourth person in. Sometimes that third friend that we bring in, and then you bring that fourth one in. There's some animosity there, and there's never that with Jared. No matter who we put in the boat next to him or the car next to him, Jared's like, dude, I don't care. We catch a fish. Let's go catch a fish.
By the end of the day, Jared's like best friends. He was like, "What's up, Josh?
Yeah.
No,
we
his
just
name-
become best friends."
and poor Ron's over there. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Jordan. Hey, Jeff. And the guy's like, my name's Josh.
You gotta exert dominance somehow. No.
But no, I think, and that's kind of one of the examples is Jared's willing to
Hold on, have
take.
you ever seen that clip with Ron Swanson? He goes, sometimes I just call people the wrong name just so they know we're not friends. Not true, Josh. We're buddies, dude.
But no, I think that's one of the things that Ron and I have preached since the beginning of this podcast is the whole, mentorship. And Jared's a huge mentor. And so what we can do to get Jared out with us more often, I think Ron and I are always looking for opportunities to get Jared out of the house a little bit more. And
Appreciate that. Thank you.
and he coaches kids. He helps kids within the church. He helps kids on a school level. I mean, he's one of the most supportive teachers I think I've met. So whatever Ron and I can do to give back to Jared a little bit is more than a pleasure to
These
us.
guys give me a lot. These guys coach me. They're patient with me because I don't always know what's going on. And
We don't usually know what's going on either, Jared.
Hey, you might want to turn the safety off.
That usually helps, but
Anyways, if it's gonna suck, embrace it, right, Brian?
absolutely, if it's gonna suck, embrace it. And I think we're getting a little tight on time, and
Yeah.
Ron's got some stuff to do, and so remember, if you're gonna get out this weekend, if you can take somebody with you. If you can take somebody with you, make sure you teach them something. If you can't take somebody or teach somebody, make sure you hunt hard and be good to people.